Welcome to the Renegade Context podcast. I am your host, Sue Hamilton, and this week I spoke to Ross Mitchell. Ross is a stand-up comedian in Belfast. We talked about his style as a comedian, the night he runs in The American over in Sailortown. So we talked about Sailortown a little bit. We talked about the history of Belfast. He's a Belfastian born and bred, I believe. And we also talked about his irrational fear of rabbits and chimp Olympics. So it's quite a conversation that spans a few genres. I very much enjoyed having this conversation. I hope you enjoy listening to it. And just before I pass you on to the rest of the podcast, I just wanted to say that you might notice sound issues in the first few episodes. I essentially only have one microphone at the minute. I have two, but I don't quite know how to get them both to record through the several programs that I had to download to kind of make them work. It's a learning curve. I'm getting there. I'm hoping by season 2, which I'm hoping to start recording next month, that I will have all of these little nitty-gritty things down. I'm also learning things like what information to record from each show, so I know what I'm talking about at times like this when I have to introduce them, and a variety of other small podcasty things that I'm kind of enjoying learning along the way. So yeah, you never know. In a year, I might be an absolute master at this, or I might have given up and moved on to the next shiny thing, as I often do with my neurodivergent brain. So we'll see. Fingers crossed. I keep enjoying this, and how could you not enjoy conversations with performers? I don't know. Anyway, on that note, here is the conversation with Ross Mitchell. I hope you enjoy. Okay, I'll formally say welcome to the house. So what I usually do is I talk about performance. And
I'm Ross Mitchell, by the way.
This is Ross Mitchell. Ross is a comedian. He comedies. Yeah. Do you do any other form of performance as well, or have you stuck to the comedy?
Just stand up, yeah. I do.
And how long have you been at it?
Apart from school plays,
Oh yeah,
so
yeah.
Apart from that,
yeah.
no, just stand up.
I missed the school plays, if I'm honest. They were good crack.
Well, I only got into them. Well, see, I don't miss them that much, but mine were all musicals.
Oh, you sang.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember very, very young there was the music. We did Oliver and stuff, but not when I was older.
Oh no, that was what we did when we were teenagers, and I only got into it because.
Is that a Protestant thing?
I don't know. It's no, there were a lot of Catholics out. See, that's the I got into it because there was a girl I liked.
Oh, okay.
And then it didn't end up. It didn't work out with her. But then I ended up with another girl.
Also in musical.
Also in music theatre. I thought you were going to say also Catholic. But yes. Yeah. Also in music theatre, also Catholic. So I went into it for the girls.
Yeah. Well, that's a reasonable reason to get into anything, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And hated it. It was just awful.
Yeah.
Music theatre really is
the
lowest form of
I
art.
think that it's a really weird bunch of people that really enjoy
Yeah.
it. And it's not like soulful singing. It's not like pop or jazz or blues or rock and roll. It's the weirdest type of singing ever.
Well, it's because it has to be that, it's this, performance thing you project onto a stage.
It's all tits and teeth and forced smiles and
It's why that Les Mis movie was so weird to me.
Yeah.
Because they were
That
all...
went on for like 3 fucking hours as well. It was...
Well, yeah, that's how long the fucking show is. But like, they... do you want to know who I was in our production of Les Mis?
Who are you?
I had a starring role as man mistaken for Jean Valjean.
No way! What, does someone come up to you and go, "Oh, Jean," and you're like, "Oh, I'm not Jean."
No, in the play there's a bit where like a guy's been captured and they think it's Jean Valjean, and Jean Valjean has to admit that he's actually Jean Valjean. And I'm in it for just a minute when he runs into the court and goes, and so you see this man is innocent.
Oh,
but singing.
okay. Oh, so, yeah. So a friend of mine made me watch it. He's really into musical theatre. He's the last person you would think of as being into musical theatre because he's a sideshow performer. He's a street artist. He's an escape artist. He's a magician, and he's mad into heavy metal. And none of those things would make you think like this guy's really going to enjoy his Les Mis. But he does, and he forced me to watch it 3 fucking hours. I couldn't.
I mean, speaking of performance, you can certainly be impressed, and I was very impressed by even just like an amateur youth level of the amount of work that goes into it. Like,
oh, it's crazy! Yeah, it's absolutely crazy, and the teamwork is incredible as well. I think having to work together. I did a bit of theatre for a while, and it is everyone has to do their part to get through, which is great, and I like that aspect of it.
Like, I remember people fainting because of like the physical exertion of dancing and belting out these tunes and stuff.
Yeah. And did you have to sing? Did you have like a solo part for your man mistaken for Jean Valjean?
No. Completely. All I had to do was this.
Hey, it's not me.
It's not me.
Phew.
I don't think I ever had a solo singing part. There was one bit where I did a striptease.
Okay.
There's a great musical. It's called The Boys in the Photograph. It's about Northern Ireland in the 70s, and it's written by Ben Elton and Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Wow.
2 very Englishmen.
Who's Ben Elton?
He's the comedian. He wrote the funny series of Blackadder.
Oh.
So, and he wrote the young ones.
You quantified it as the funny series.
Yeah, not the first one. That's
when
just
they
Richard Curtis.
It around. Yeah.
They brought Ben Elton in to write the second series, and then it became funny.
Yes.
And he wrote the young ones, and.
Oh wow, that is some really, really English comedy right there.
Yeah, and like great English comedy. And he
incredible.
He wrote a bunch of other stuff. But then he started writing musicals. I think he also wrote We Will Rock You, the Queen musical.
I haven't seen it, but I do like all of Queen's songs, so I don't think it could be that bad if I get to listen to this.
It could be pretty bad.
Is it? Yeah.
From what I hear, it's pretty bad.
Oh, wow.
Excuse me.
Makes you wonder what like, I don't know, musicals is very different from every other type of theatre, I think.
Yeah. What, no subtlety?
Yeah.
People just
like,
shout.
what makes you go, I'm going to go from the young ones to musical theatre?
People just shout what they're feeling.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was what I was going to say about the Les Mis movie was it was so weird because they're all... the only one who wasn't doing this was Russell Crowe. Because they're acting like they're in Les Mis, they're belting out these songs, but the camera's like here on them. So really the only one who was acting for the camera was Russell Crowe, I thought, where he was giving it just, a wee bit of subtlety, a wee bit of, little facial movements, but everyone else is going, ah!
Yeah.
And it makes it...
Were they all hired from like Broadway?
Well, I think that, like, Hugh Jackman is a big musicals guy. I think they, apart from Russell Crowe...
another guy where you just wouldn't think musicals.
I know, but I think that's where he got his big start.
Yeah. No, he's very, very good at it. He's ridiculously good.
There's that bit where he's, like, singing Bring Him Home, like the big, showstopper one. He's singing Bring Him Home. And on the stage, that makes sense. They're all sleeping and he's singing Save This Boy. And it makes sense on stage that he's belting this out because an audience of, like, however big the theatre is, like 1,000 have to hear him. But in a movie, he's just like standing over this guy, gouldering, "You're like the son I might have known!" And the guy's not waking up and going, Jesus!
That's just fucking rude. It's like being in a hostel and people won't shut the fuck up when you're trying to sleep.
I was in one musical I really enjoyed. This is such an incredible concept. So, did you know that the guys from ABBA wrote a musical?
No.
Benny and Bjorn from ABBA wrote a musical about...
Is it good?
It's about the 1972 World Chess Championship. or based on it.
Okay.
And it's called Chess.
You really can write a musical about fucking anything, can't you?
I think it's the 1972 because that's Bobby Fischer versus Dr. Spassky. If you've ever heard of that, that's like, you know,
it's a defining moment in chess history, is it?
Well, it was like televised and stuff.
Oh, right.
It's like, it was the Russians who were the chess masters up against this insane American guy, Bobby Fischer. And, it was East versus West, and there was a lot of, Cold War stuff going on.
Was it 80s?
72, I think 72.
Yeah, very cold at that time.
And he, and they wrote a musical about it, and there's a song in it, which, it's called The Arbiter, and the only purpose of this song is to explain to you that in chess, the referee is called the arbiter. But it's written by Benny and Bjorn, so it's a banger. It's like, it's... I
could imagine, like, the melodies and stuff coming in as well. Oh,
yes, man. I'm the arbiter and I know best.
Oh, man. Oh, I've got to hunt that out. Has that been filmed?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay, I got to hunt that out.
It's like a big musical.
That's on my
That would be one worth watching, I would say.
Yeah. That's fucking crazy. Yeah. But you didn't stick at it once you found your girlfriend. You moved on, did you?
Well, no. Once we broke up, then I moved on.
Oh, okay, yeah. And then every song reminded you of her, and reminded her of you, and you couldn't do it anymore.
I can't hear. I'm trying to think of a song from Master of the House without thinking.
Should just slip into your mind. Oh, can't go through it again.
But yeah, no, I just did stand up.
Yeah.
That's all. That was a long-winded way of saying no. Just did stand up. What was that? 20 minutes to say.
When did you start stand up?
When I was 18.
What age are you now? 18. Wow.
I'm 29 now.
You're 29, so
nearly 30, so it'll be. It's about 11 and a half years, I guess.
Yeah. Nearly a decade. That's around the time. If you've done your 10,000 hours, that's when they say you approach mastery.
Maybe. I mean, it's hard to do 10,000 hours of stand-up in
really
Lisbon.
It's hard to do 10,000 hours of stand-up full stop because you spend so much time getting there for your 10 minutes and then you're off home again and you're like, right, okay. I mean, how many 10 minutes is 10,000 hours, I wonder? Are you going to be able to do this in your head? Oh. I'm so embarrassed.
Well,
5 million?
If you're doing 10-minute gigs,
you could tell me anything and I would believe you.
Let's average it that you probably get about 10 minutes at each gig.
Yeah.
Then you're doing, for 10,000 hours, you're doing 60,000 gigs.
Could you do 60,000 gigs in 10 years?
Come on,
maths man.
Yeah, I don't think I've done 60,000 gigs.
That's a lot of fucking gigs.
I've done thousands, but...
Yeah.
I don't think it's in the tens of thousands.
I wonder if, like, being at home and doing it to yourself counts as your 10,000 hours as well, like the amount of time you spend just repeating it over and over again.
Well, I'm just thinking now that actually when you, like, do comedy, most of your time is spent in a car with other people going to gigs.
It's true, yeah. Yeah, a lot of your time is spent in a car with other people going to gigs.
And just talking shit, making jokes on the road, or being with it's the most annoying thing, which is done by some people that I love, is when someone, just starts a conversation apropos nothing, and then you realize, oh, you're trying material out on me.
Oh yeah. I think I've been guilty of this.
I was thinking about toasters today, and they're like, oh, for fuck's sake, man.
So when you come downstairs in the morning, you get yourself some bread. No, I don't, man. I don't. I drink tea and think about suicide first thing in the morning.
Airplanes are strange, aren't they?
Yeah. Those machines in airports. Yeah, you get that in at festivals as well. There's a lot of sort of clowny people who do that, and that, like, my mate Gary gets really pissed off by them. He's like, he never stops, and I'm like, it's a clown, that's what they do, man. You
Well,
just
clowns will try out their bits on.
Well, they never stop. It's never like audience and then backstage. It's just
Right,
they are
okay.
constantly in clown mode, and Gary's just like, man, we're in the fucking green room here. Would you just leave me the fuck alone?
Oh, see, I would think that, you know, the face flips, that they have the sad face when they're
I think that's what
backstage.
happens when they go home.
Ah.
Pour the whiskey and just light up the fag and look at themselves in the mirror.
Well, I guess then if they drop out of that at any point,
Yeah.
then they are in whiskey drinking mode, so they need to keep...
Yeah, I do wonder about some of them. Some of them are fucking hilarious, and then some of them I think are just absolutely insane. Like, you can't live a life like that without being completely mental.
Well, that used to be the way for comedians.
Yeah, I think there is a lot of insanity in comedians. There's
Well,
sure as fuck a lot of neurodivergency.
they-
Neurodiversity.
There used to be, I think, in stand-up here, because it was a bit of a fledgling scene. Like, stand-up here is only... Like stand-up comedy here as, like, a scene has only been going... I mean, okay, you can go back to, like, the Empire and...
How long's
Paddy
the Empire
Keoghan
been around then?
Oh, that's been the 80s.
Oh, right,
I think
okay.
it's
Is that the
80s.
oldest one?
Yeah, no,
Empire?
that's the
Okay.
oldest one in Belfast.
Is that why it's the
in
most
Northern Ireland.
prestigious? Is why people have this
Yeah.
sort of thing about the Empire?
Yeah, because it was the Empire Laughs Back, and it was Paddy Keoghan hosted that, and it went on during the Troubles, and he would make, he would come on stage in a balaclava and make jokes about what was going on, and so it was very, it was very of its time, seen as like, a light in the darkness of...
Yeah. I like that. I like the Empire Laughs Back. That's nice.
Yeah, we can all...
Yeah.
We will get through this sort of thing.
Yeah.
But now... And there were the guys who came through that, like Colin and Jacob Kane. But in terms of like a scene like we have now where there's gigs all over the place, there wasn't really that.
And how long has that been going for, do you think?
Really, I think about maybe 15 years.
Okay.
Maybe a bit more than that.
Yeah.
But because I think the PAV came along and that was the first open mic.
Right, okay.
Where it wasn't like the Empire where it was paid acts, and you could maybe, if you went and pestered Jackie after weeks, he'd give you an open spot of 5 minutes.
Right. So it was run by somebody called Jackie at the time.
Yeah. Jackie Hamilton.
Okay.
It's now run by his daughter, I'm pretty sure, Jade.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And he produced, I think he produces the Blame Game and stuff. His production company.
Oh, Blame
It's
Games.
like a panel show for...
I like panel shows. I do. I think they're fun. I'd like to see one in a bar and see what happens. But you need particular types of comedians for
Oh,
it.
you'd like to see a panel show in a bar? Well, I can tell you about one of those.
Is there one coming up?
No, there was one.
Oh, how did it go? Was it a success or was it something that should never be done again?
It shut down the Belfast Fringe. The Belfast Comedy Festival. No, it didn't really, but it was...
Did somebody say something racist? Or threaten to...
I'll tell you about it in a sec. But I may not be the best person to talk about the history of it, because I wasn't there for... like the very beginning.
Yeah.
What in my head is the very beginning is like, the PAV starting up.
Yeah.
And now there was a place where you could just go up, if you weren't a big name. And that's where I saw Adam Laughlin for the first time.
Okay.
I think he was the first live comedian I ever saw.
Oh, wow.
And...
that's nice to remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was Graham Watson running stuff out of the black box, and he started the PAV. I think it was him and Liam Watson started it, and then it's passed through several hands till it's got to
I
Luke.
always like scenes when they're at that phase.
Exactly. Well,
when it's just a bunch of ragtag misfits and a few spaces to do what you need in.
Well, that's how I got onto it. Was back in the day, there were a lot of genuinely just crazy people.
That's
weirdos.
right. That's what we were talking about. Yes.
And
yeah. Well, these sort of
nowadays,
fringe things attract fringe people.
I know, but nowadays it feels like with it feels like what's happened in English comedy has happened here, but slower. Where like people have seen it as like, oh, that's a possible career.
Yes.
So like with the success of Colin,
it's been gentrified,
and Shane,
is what you say.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. With the success of Shane and Colin, and fair play to them, and all, and Mickey, and everybody has these podcasts now. No hardly. But you know, there are now people coming in who are like, oh, that's a thing I could do.
Yeah.
It's not so much.
You see that happened in acting as well. Acting used to be a very, very working class thing, historically speaking. Yeah. I mean, like, you were scum of the earth if you were an actor. Yeah. And then once it got this sort of social, what's the word?
Cachet?
Yeah. As soon as it got a little bit of something that people could cling on to, that's when the wealthier people started to go, oh, I can make social clout out of that. I can make money out of that. I can, and I'm not saying it's ruined, because I mean some of the best actors, some of the best actors right now, are Royal Shakespeare Company guys, and they are fucking incredible, and they may have come from money. It doesn't really matter. But I'm sure there's people who are working class who could have done some fucking amazing stuff who will never get the opportunity now because it's so expensive to become an actor. I see that happening to comedy as well, like, and I think that happens to any medium, any artistry, where people see they can make money out of it. Yeah, which is sad. In a way.
Well, that's like, it used to be like crazy people, and now I feel like a lot of the newer acts, I feel like they've got an Excel spreadsheet loaded up of their next gigs and stuff.
I think I've heard Excel spreadsheets actually mentioned.
That's what the new jokes are about. That's what's being tried out in the car. So guys, you know when you load up your Excel spreadsheet and you've got your ingoings and outgoings, and someone was asking me recently, like, what's the craziest act you've ever seen? And I need to go back years, like at least 7 years to think for.
When you say crazy, do you mean like unhinged or just absolutely bonkers mad?
I mean, like, you would never see something like it now. Like I remember, like, one time at the PAV, right?
Yeah.
There was this guy who he was down to do a gig, and nowadays when you go to the PAV, it's quite familiar names. Yeah. Often who come up. Occasionally there's a name you don't recognize.
Yeah.
Back in those days, it was like half names you didn't recognize.
Right. And so people would just kind of pop in, give it a shot, and then you might never see them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And what they might give it a shot with might just be like bad stand-up. But this one guy, I remember, his name gets called, I didn't see him enter, his name gets called, and he came from all the way from the back, and clap, applause, welcome to the stage. They came from the back of the room, all the way from the back, walking slowly, in a cape, boxers, and nothing else.
Right.
And he walked slowly up to the stage, and then he stood at the stage in his cape and his boxers, in silence, for his 10 minutes, and then he left.
Just stood there for
10 minutes.
For 10 minutes.
And that was
Is that art? Was that a happening you were part of?
You would see things that you were like, I don't know if this is brilliant or not. Like, it's certainly new. It's certainly unlike anything else.
I always respect people trying stuff. Even if they're failing, I love to see that. I love to see people doing new stuff.
And I never saw that guy again. So, like, that was his idea. That was the one idea he'd had. That wasn't like a jaded veteran trying to think of something to jazz up his set. Yeah. This was this guy, no, this is going to be my set.
This is my moment. This is it.
I don't know. And people were laughing a bit. You know that nervous laughter? Because if you stand in silence for long enough, people will start to titter and laugh. And it rose and fell. But I thought he'd do something.
Genius. That's fucking genius.
And then, but I never, like, somewhere out there that man exists. Yeah. And he's the guy who came on stage in boxers and stood in silence for 10 minutes.
I wonder, is it the same guy who used to dress as a tiger and dance in Grafton Street? No. Those people generally are still on the street. You'll still meet those kind of crazies on the street, because, like, the street is the most democratic place you can possibly be. Nobody's not allowed on the street unless you've murdered someone and then you're in prison. That's really the only rules you've got for who's allowed to hang around in those places. I think a lot of the sort of cabaret and comedy used to be like that.
Yeah.
Now it is quite middle class in its sort of.
Yeah. I mean, you had people like, there was a great comedian, it used to be here, Kieran Mina.
Okay.
And he was from not too far from here. He was from the New Lodge, and so proper like working class guy, very smart guy, and he was. I don't think he'd mind me saying hello, Mina, wherever you are. Oh, he's in Tasmania now.
Oh, cool.
But he was drunk.
Yeah.
He
So
liked the sauce.
He'd go on stage drunk, or
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or he'd go on stage high. One time, and he was great, but I remember one time he was doing a chicken box at Derry, and he came in, and he looked a little strung out, and I said, "You all right there, Mina?" And he said, "Yeah, I did a tab of acid last night, and I was feeling a bit rough this morning, so I took another one." Are you sure you're going to be okay to do this, man? And
how do you even string words together on acid?
he said, "No, man, it's great. It's going to be great. I thought of loads of really funny stuff. I've written it all here on the back of the hand. Written it all here. Loads of funny stuff." So he got up on stage at Chicken Box, looked at the back of his hand, and he stood there in silence for a full minute, looking at the back of his hand, and then he went, "Ah, fuck this," and walked off.
Oh God.
What he had written was Chinese railgun on dark side of moon.
Wow. It certainly brings up a lot of questions.
I mean,
Railgun.
Yeah, I wish I'd seen that bit because it sounds great.
I'd be amazed if you were able to read anything while on.
It was
on
big
acid.
letters. It covered the whole hand. It was just what he'd written. But yeah, it used to be. Yeah, people were just having fun, just messing around.
It used to be like that in the circus scene as well. Like you had juggling conventions, which sounds ridiculous to people who don't go to these sorts of things. But there would be gala shows and renegade shows. And the gala show is people who are invited to perform at the convention. So usually people with fairly high skills or good acts or, Standard then was kind of, is not as high as it is now, technical skill-wise, but the performance was always amazing. And then the renegade shows, they're still going. So the rule for a renegade show is you can do anything, absolutely anything. You get up, you can tell a joke, you can do a trick, you can do absolutely anything you want to do, and you get a shot of tequila as a reward. So some people just keep going up and going up and going up. But friends of mine, Martin, he used to put two euro coins up his nose, and then 2 teaspoons as well, like blockhead, like right into his skull. So Jesus. 2 spoons and 4 euros up his nose, and then he'd get people to pull them out with his teeth. There's photos of me doing that one day at the open stage. Yeah, it just looks like we're shifting.
No.
And then there's people who could like squirt milk out their eye, and really weird shit that people would do. Anything, and I love that as a concept. I would like to see more of that. I was thinking about doing a show here, like the open stage that I used to run, but I need to find a bar to do it in. Like, I don't want to play the woman card. But people do kind of expect you not to be particularly funny if you're female. Or maybe they think that you're gonna, I don't know, get married and have babies or who knows. So yeah, I'm still kind of looking around for somewhere that's not too far from here. But I'd like to do that sort of stuff again. Although I hear there's a show called Blended that does different types of acts. It's not just comedy.
I think that's like that James.
It's James. Do I know James?
I know James.
You know James.
But the second name's just gone from it. I'm sorry, James. You'll blank this. You'll cut this.
No.
James. The camera's gone off, I think. So.
It only goes for about 10 minutes or so.
So what I'm doing is I'm focusing very hard and concentrating to remember James's name, which is definitely in my head. And I can,
Is he a local? This James.
James Downey.
Downey.
James
Okay.
Downey, and I remembered that without any prompt.
For no help whatsoever. I am a witness to the lack of help you had.
I respect the man. Yeah, I think that's James Downey does that.
Okay. That sounds like fun. I like that sort of stuff. Because, I mean, I love comedy, and I love the comedy nights here. They're great fun, and people are very good. But it's like going to cabaret and seeing nothing but burlesque. You're just like, by the end of the show, you're like, oh, God. But then you have, 4 or 5, 6 acts maximum in cabaret shows. It just fucking goes on. You're like, there's only so many tits I can see in one night.
Well, Laura Conlon and Conleith are running a night like that now called what's that?
Is that Turnstile?
Turnstile, yeah.
I was talking to someone about that the other day, I think. Yeah.
Where it's a mix of things. Like I was on theirs, I think last month or a couple of months ago, and they had a few stand-ups, they had improvers, they had a sketch group. So they had a nice mix.
I like different types of performance, and it stops it from segregating all off into different corners as well. You know, it's nice to have places where people can, like, if you're an improv, or I don't know what the collective noun for improvers are, but if you're one of them, you can go see another act and go, oh, I can kind of translate that. Or if you're stand up and you see some improv, you're like, oh, okay, I like that sort of way of going about things. Check those ones
like
out.
the PAV used to have sketch on it back in the day, or improvers and stuff.
Oh, by the way, you're not afraid of rats, are you?
Oh, is that your rat?
Yeah.
I was wondering if I was going to see
That's
them.
little man. He's being a tiny dickhead and refusing to go to bed. So I meant to say that before you came in.
Where did he come from?
He's hiding in the cupboard, and now he's going to be behind the fridge for the next while. He's hidden something there, so.
Right.
And the fridge, you can't just pull out a fridge.
Yeah.
You know, because there's this whole thing about gases and whatnot.
No, I've been told they're very clean animals.
Yes, they are.
They're very
they will destroy everything
intelligent.
them. Way
and
too
they're very friendly.
Very friendly.
But I do, nonetheless, have an inbuilt
Human
thing
fear.
that is, it's a rat.
That is medieval propaganda. That's what that is. It was the fleas.
You know, I don't necessarily have it for, I was going to say rabbits, but no, I hate rabbits. Rabbits are awful wee things.
Really?
Yeah, it's just
I like rabbits. They're fluffy.
Oh, they're nasty. Yeah, they look nice, but they're nasty wee fat bastards. Bite you. They bite you.
You've been bitten by a rabbit? I used to have a rabbit. He never bit me, but he wasn't.
Maybe I just had a bad rabbit, or
you must have had a terrible rabbit experience,
or it hated me.
Yeah, was it like a magician's rabbit or some kind of horrible childhood trauma?
It was a neighbour's pet.
Oh.
Yeah.
None of my rats will bite you. I promise you that, unless you do something really mean. In which case, I will encourage them.
Well, I'll be fine as long as one doesn't drop on my head. Or something.
No, there's none up there. You'll be fine. It's just little man and Q down here at the minute, I think. Usually the only ones that are allowed to run around the sitting rooms are the ones with good recall. The ones that will come to their name.
Oh, okay.
But these guys are fucking sneaky. They get past you at the most inopportune times. But, very clever animals indeed. What were we talking about before little man made his appearance? I think we were talking about mixed nights, variety
shows.
Yeah.
Although I do also just like pure stand-up
straight
shows.
comedy. Yeah.
I mean, the one I run is just
Yeah.
pure stand-up. Although
How many do you usually have in one of your nights?
I try and keep it low because I think the most it should have is 5.
5.
Really?
5 in the host.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
And I suppose when you're doing it's about 10 minutes max each, that's not a ridiculously long show to sit through.
No.
And comedy is definitely far more interesting than a lot of the stuff you see in cabaret. Because if comedy's bad, you're still having a good night because you're already primed to laugh. So I mean, it's a pretty awful comedian that drags the crowd down.
Well, they could just be having a bad night, you know?
Yeah. I've not
just
seen
do
anyone
that.
drag the crowd down yet. I've seen people kind of, I don't know, they've plateaued, as it were, like the crowd just sort of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
No, I've seen plenty of people kill a night. I have myself.
how
Um,
how did that night go?
I can't remember. I can only think of one time that's clear in my memory, oddly, because it was pissed. I think I started shouting at some nurses, a group of nurses, at the PAV. This is like 8 years ago or something. And the guy who co-ran it at the time with Luke, said never have him back on.
Wow.
But that's Luke, you know. He sticks with you. He gives you
Yeah.
gives you a third and
Yeah.
a fourth and a fifth and a sixth
Yeah.
chance.
I think if I were running a night, the only thing that would make me say never want to see someone again is if they were disrespectful, like intentionally disrespectful to the people they're working with, and just an absolute cunt to the crowd. Now that where you were coming from that night.
No, I don't think that's where I was coming from. I think I was coming from being drunk.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it's just somebody
Yeah.
immediately that description
Oh,
immediately
okay.
put someone in my head.
Okay.
But
It's
yeah.
probably always
No, I
best
know
to
what
keep
you mean.
your names to yourself. I don't mind what people say. I know that there's this kind of I wouldn't say sensitivity. I think people are worried about hurting people's feelings, and I think we need to worry a little less about hurting people's feelings, because how the fuck are you going to be funny if you're not allowed to say anything risque?
But also,
you
this
know?
this scene is very prone to drama.
Is it? I've
is.
noticed a little bit of
Yeah.
drama. I find it. I'm not socially apt. You know I'm autistic.
Yeah.
You yourself, I believe, are also autistic. I'm not good with drama because I genuinely don't know where the fuck it's come from.
Well, as an autistic person,
Yeah.
isn't it interesting that funny people don't really have a sense of humor about themselves?
Some very thin-skinned
Some-
people.
some very funny people, some very
Yeah.
successful funny people,
Yeah.
have very little sense of humor about
I'm
themselves.
still trying to figure out. I think my main problem with people is I'm supposed to know who's important and who isn't, and I never do. So I treat everyone the same, which you think is a positive thing, but people do not. So I still don't know who's successful and who isn't. And I wouldn't judge based on who I think is funny, because that's just my taste. So they might not. And I don't. What do people call successful in a comedy scene as well? Like, you know. Like even in street shows, people have different merits for success. There's either the funniest guy or the guy who makes the most money, and those are not always the same guy, you know. So yeah, no, I think there's certain people I'm definitely supposed to have gone, oh my god, you're you, and I haven't, and I don't know what, or what the fuck's going on there. I'm not a fan of drama. I don't like it. I'm not a big fan of it. I think you gotta have a thick skin.
I'm a gossip, so I do
Are
like
you?
the drama.
Do you like it?
I don't like being part of it, but I like
Yeah.
hearing all about it.
Yeah.
And I like telling it. It does get a bit much.
Here's a funny question. Where are all the lesbians? I know it sounds weird, but I don't think I've met a single lesbian doing stand-up in Northern Ireland yet.
There used to be Gemma Hutton, and she used to be quite big, but she gave it up. I think
Went
doing,
off to something else.
well, I think she just does like gigs for like queer events and stuff now.
Yeah.
And
Because I know there's a few gay men. It's sort of still quite sort of surprisingly low, considering it is the entertainment. It's an aspect of the entertainment industry, and they're usually a sort of disproportionate number. The gay community is usually disproportionate in performance, because it's a way to deal with your trauma.
well, not traditionally. Like you were saying, like theatre used to be a very working class thing. It also used to be a very straight thing at that time as
Right.
well. All the gay men, if you were a gay guy, or you know, fey in some way, you went into the military.
Really? Is what, like generally across the board, like in the UK and Ireland, that would be.
I'm saying like historically that was the case. I mean,
Wow.
Alexander the Great.
Yeah.
Like look at the French army uniforms during the Napoleonic War. Like, you know, if you were a flashy guy, like to show it off.
And
you
I
know,
suppose you're going from town to town. You're never
Yeah.
staying in one place for too long. You're probably
whereas if you wanted to meet girls, you became an actor.
right.
There's a great
that's
story
very
about
interesting.
uh,
The French uniform.
Yeah. Like
We used to play a game in juggling conventions called Gay or European. And you'd pick someone out of the crowd and you'd have to decide if they were gay or European. And then you'd go and ask them and you'd find out.
Frederick the Great.
Frederick the Gay.
Frederick the Great.
Frederick the Great.
Frederick the Great of Prussia. Famously gay.
Really?
Yeah, his royal guard was composed exclusively of blonde men over 6 foot tall, and
Very specific, isn't
I
it?
can't remember exactly.
Not just beautiful young men, but
Yeah, I can't remember exactly what the quote is, but it's something like, "No army can best me, but tall men, they are my weakness."
that is the gayest thing I've ever heard. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and like Patton, General Patton of World War II famously, designed his own uniform that was...
Well, I mean, the Nazis also designed their own uniforms. No, it was Hugo Boss that designed it, and those were snappy as fuck.
Those were snappy fucking uniforms.
They kind of give me kink vibes, though. And I don't know if that's just because now they're always like used in kink,
There's a story about Dwight Eisenhower.
He was a cross-dresser, wasn't he?
On the eve, or not on the eve, but like in the build up to D-Day, he sent George Marshall, who's the head of the Joint Chiefs, so the Supreme Commander of all U.S. military forces.
Okay.
Dwight Eisenhower sent George Marshall a letter saying, "I'm resigning and I'm running away with my Jeep driver." I'm leaving my wife and I'm running away with my Jeep driver. I'm leaving the war. And George Marshall phoned him back and basically just said, "It's fucking World War II, Ike. Can you get it together? You're about to command Operation Overlord. Can you get it together till we've won the war?"
Wow. It's a stressor. That's a big stressor, World War II. I mean, if you're going to crack at any time in your life, then is the time. Wow. I'd find out about his Jeep driver now. I want to see pictures. I want to see pictures of this special guy.
No, I think it might have been a woman.
Okay.
I think it was, because I think women were Jeep drivers, but still a very... I'm
very
leaving,
dramatic.
I'm leaving the war.
I'm packing all my frocks and my heels, or my pumps as the Americans call them. I don't understand why they call them pumps.
What are pumps?
I think they're high heels. I'm not good with this stuff.
Are they? I thought they were
they're like the stiletto ones. Isn't that a pump?
I thought they were maybe like sort of platforms.
Oh.
But I have no idea.
I'm not good with the typical girl stuff. I know very limited amount. I learned as much as I needed to pass as a human.
Maybe they referred to trainers as pumps because Nike had that promotion of "Pump It Up."
Yeah.
That was like the slogan of theirs.
But are they not sneakers?
But maybe they used
pumps
interchangeable.
was something to do with women, and that's why I have them in my head as. I feel it. Do you have your phone there? Mine's over there. I feel like this is a Googleable thing. What do Americans? Because they're runners. Also known as trainers, depending on where you're from, are called sneakers, which makes more sense than we call them runners down south.
I mean that makes sense to me as well.
Yeah.
Sneakers I never understood.
Yeah, they're not very sneaky actually,
Yeah.
are they? You just hear the
slippers are
squeaking as they
sneakers.
yeah.
Oh, no internet.
No internet. Oh. Well, I have to Google that later to find out what the fuck a pump is. So you think that historically, theatre was very straight? Has comedy been historically very straight?
No, I think it was a real mix.
Yeah. Because it's quite young. I mean, stand-up is quite young. Stand-up only really came to the UK in the 80s or something.
Well, there
was... the concept of that type of comedy.
Yeah, I mean, there was stand-up before that, but it was really more like vaudeville.
Yeah.
And actually, to be fair, if you go back to the history of, music hall...
Yeah.
A lot of that's very, avant-garde, or what we would recognise as some sort of stand-up.
Yeah.
But...
Yeah, I suppose the host would have to do a lot of that sort of one-liners.
Yeah, there were comedians, and they did do jokes,
yeah,
and they did...
Yeah.
And if you go back, you can hear some of them, and they are good jokes. But what's weird is that came out, and some of them are very surreal. Like there was this guy, people would come out and just jump.
Yeah.
Like that was their act, was they jumped up and down really fast. There was one guy who was called the man. This is like I think like 1890 or something in London, London Music Hall. There was a guy who was called the man who sings Danny Boy.
Was he really good?
He would come out in white white tie and tails.
Yeah.
And start to sing Danny Boy in that way that they did back in those days. Maybe this like the 1920s or something, I'm not sure. But he'd come out and say, "Oh, Danny Boy, the pipes, the pipes." And as the song went on, the audience would start to go, are his arms getting longer? And just start to all notice that his arms were getting longer and drooping down to the floor. And by the time he finished on, "Oh, Daddy boy, oh, Daddy boy," his arms were in a wee pile on the floor. And everybody was in hysterics. And then he would walk off, dragging his arms behind him.
Did he have like... I need to
like
know
some
how
sort of
that
extending... But like, and that's a fairly Python-esque, surreal act. But what's weird to think is,
that.
if you had like
I watch that now.
If you had that act or something like it, you did that act 4 or 5 times a night, 7 nights a week.
Yes.
And that was the only thing you did.
Yeah. Circus is still like that. If you do like a circus, if you get to Cirque du Soleil standards, you're doing the same act over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And a comedy is that to a degree, but it changes up. You gotta adapt it to.
It changes. Well, like I can't understand it because like the moment you can't do it to yourself.
Yeah.
You have to at least
you need an audience.
I mean, there are guys like one-liners, like great one-liner comedians like Johnny Bowe or Cara O'Hagan who, obviously because it's one-liners, you pre-write them. For someone like me, where it's like a conversational style,
yeah,
I can't write it beforehand. I just have to like have an idea and then write it basically as write is maybe the wrong word, but it's the joke forms as I say it on stage, gig after gig.
Very much the way street works as well. Yeah.
And the moment that and this is why I can't understand, like doing a thing just over and over again, the same thing. The moment that I feel like, yes, I've got that joke, it's written, now it's great, is the moment I stop loving it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I go, yes, I finally got that to exactly where I want it to be. It's so great. This next time I perform it is going to be so great. I perform it exactly the way it should be, and every syllable is right, and it's perfect, and it gets a big laugh, and I'm like, oh,
Never
fuck,
doing
I'm
that
bored.
again.
I'm bored.
Never doing that again. No, I'm finding that with comedy as well, because I'm not used to the amount of time I'm having to spend with other people. And like, they're great and I love them, and it's, I don't know, there's a few people who very clearly and obviously have vibes towards me that I don't really understand what those vibes are about. So whenever I feel that from people, I tend to just sort of sit back and wait, because it always comes out. There's always some comment at some point that says...
Come out in a weird way though.
Yeah.
Like do a video or something.
Yeah. I love that. I would respond.
So we were saying that there was a panel show once at a comedy night for the Belfast Festival, and it ended rather acrimoniously.
Okay. By shutting down the entire festival.
It didn't shut down the entire festival, no, but became a big drama.
Was this people who had been working together got to the point where they couldn't...
a guy set it up, and it was going to be a panel show.
Yeah.
The guy's no longer with us, rest in peace. But he had set it up and got like people up from Cork to do it and stuff.
Oh wow, okay. That's fucking far. That is a long way to go by Irish standards.
He set it up to be several panel shows on the same night.
Oh.
So the room was basically just all comedians he got from all over the country, and like 20 audience or something, and it was going to be like, 6 people on to do a panel show. Yeah. And then they'd go off, and then another 6 people would go on.
Okay. To the same audience?
Yeah, and it ended up being a real... And like the Cork ones he didn't have on until the end of the night. And it ended up being a real mess. And because McGinley was another one who was mad
Right.
back in the day.
Was he a mad drinker or a mad thinker or just a sort of bit of a mad yoke altogether?
He used to be the regular MC at the PAV, right?
Right.
And him and George were the regular MCs, and it alternated. And I was co-running it with Luke at the time, and we were always going way over time. Like, we were ending at like midnight.
Oh, okay.
And
well, you hadn't limited the amount of time per audience or per
we realised people were going over time and stuff, and so I sat down at the back and I started like, timing everyone, seeing how much time everyone was doing, and like, so then if someone's on to do 10 and they're doing 15, then we'll have a word with them, and also just try and get into people's heads like, no, you can't really do 12, because if everybody is doing 12, then that is adding up.
The tragedy of the commons.
We'll try and keep it down. On the nights that George was on, George is so slick. He'd come on dope and do 10, 15, and they just bring everybody on unless somebody messed up, and then he would unless someone had died and left a bad taste, in which he would come on, do a wee 5-minute trick, bring the mood back up, then he was off. Connor consistently every night did longer than the rest of the acts put together.
Yeah, there's always one.
But he was emceeing. If all the other acts put together were like an hour, he would do an hour too. It was always like if they were an hour 5, he would do an hour 7. And I thought he must be doing it deliberately, because he's always logging. Because it was amazing, because it was like the Conor McGinley show, and he like every day he would have these mad rants on, and he was so energetic, and the sweat was flying off him, and it was always great, but it was going on too long. But it was mesmerising when you were there, of just he'd come on, he'd be screaming and shouting and hollering.
He needed his own show, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, he was a mad ball of energy.
Yeah.
He was absolutely incredible. But now, I think sadly, spends his energy on his orgies and stuff.
There's so many people into orgies now, isn't there? What the fuck is going on with the world? I'm becoming more conservative as I get older. I used to be non-judgmental. I've had to practice judgment because people keep fucking inviting me to their fucking orgies. I don't want anything to do with it.
I've never been invited to an orgy.
No? But, I should try to be less judgmental.
Do you know what? I'm still trying to think of another lesbian other than Gemma. I mean, there's bi women. There's a lot of bi women.
But everyone's bi now. I don't want to make comments on any individual, but there's a few people where I'm like, where are you really?
I've noticed that at some of the queer nights. Some people are like, it's interesting that you that this has never come up before.
I think it's a lot of very straight women.
Except when there was a gig in it.
Yeah,
no, I'm doing a gig, I think, with Gemma Hutton. Leo Lardy's he runs a lot of queer nights, and around this time of year.
Okay.
And I think Gemma.
So are you like queer for pay? Are you queer for gigs? Do you become pansexual for like 30 minutes?
Well, no, I'm only getting 10, so.
Fuck it. It's only bi, so. I had a lot of people telling me, like, all of my gay friends have always said that they thought I was gay. So they sort of refer to me as queer because they don't know what else to refer to me as. And I'm like, no, I just don't. I like guys. I've tried women. They're very complicated. I mean, not just emotionally. They are very complicated emotionally. But, like, physically, you're just like, that's a lot to learn. Guys are a lot simpler. Very straightforward. Not much no learning curve there.
I would disagree.
Yeah?
I think women are very, tits and...
Tits and bits. Guys, you don't even have to worry about the tits. It's just bits.
The bits, man. The bits are a whole fucking mess.
They're not beautiful. But I don't know, are any bits beautiful?
Oh, no, you've never seen a beautiful penis?
I've seen a cute penis. But they don't
the
like it.
The last thing any man wants to hear is cock referred to as...
Kawaii.
Oh! Hi! Oh,
Yeah.
that penis, I could put a bonnet on.
If you tickle it under the chin, it throws up. Look at it all. But I couldn't imagine going out with a woman, because like I am emotionally stunted, to say the least. I'm not good at reading my own emotions or the emotions of others, so I don't really want to talk about it all the time. Which doesn't lead to great relationships with men either, because I think you need at least one person who's willing to talk about it. I imagine women are a lot of work in the relationship. If you get it, I suppose it's compatibility more than anything else, really, isn't it? I do think emotional intelligence is important on some level, and I try, but it's not my forte. It's not. I think that's why I like performance so much, because when I was doing acting, I found it's really good for emotional regulation, especially if you're doing like method acting, where the idea is to find an emotion that's relevant to what's happening in the scene. And then you have to find the emotion, you have to dig it up, you have to feel it, and then you have to put it away again. And I found after doing that for about a year, I was a lot better at sort of like calming myself down when I was pissed off or anxious or just generally not in a good mood. Meditation's good for it as well, but I found, oddly enough, I was not expecting acting to work. I don't think comedy's good for it, because it's not that you're just not. I don't think it's bad for it, but I don't think you're not reaching for the same goals there at all. You just want to make people laugh. And you don't want to calm down afterwards, really. You just want to like amp it up and then leave the stage going, woo! Street performance is the same. You're just sort of like bringing this crowd up and up and up and up, and then there's like the crescendo, and then you get them to give you money. Sadly, you can't do that with 5 minutes of stand up. Everyone owes me a $5 now. Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what stand-up comedy, other than making people laugh. I suppose it's good for looking at stuff in a different way. So if it had a value in society, that would be.
I think it is very cathartic.
Yes. Yeah.
I think, which isn't always good. Catharsis, but sometimes it's necessary.
Yeah, I suppose at a time like when you were talking about the comedy scene during the Troubles, at a time like that you need to laugh.
Yeah.
You need to like take the piss out of the absolute chaos that's going on around you, and for a bit of healing sometimes as well.
Yeah. I don't know, now you're making me ask what the fuck the point of my life has been for the past 11 years. I couldn't tell you why, but I think it's valuable as an art form.
Yeah.
I think it's very direct, democratic art form.
Yeah, I mean, people either laugh or they don't. And
you can, like, and actually, it doesn't have to be laughs. It doesn't. Yeah. So, I mean, the big thing in Edinburgh now is, for the past, God, it must be like 10 or more years now, the big thing in Edinburgh has been, well, you have to make them cry as well. Like, the big thing has been,
emotionally, like, reach into their sort of vulnerable places, and
shows about a parent dying or a breakup, or because it started, I think it really, there was a year, I think it was like 2011, 2012 or something like that, where Russell Kane did a show about his dad dying, or it was about his dad, and is a real man's man, and then it ended with the reveal that his dad had died that year, and people were in tears. And there were a couple of other people who had done shows, like Sean Hughes had done a show about his dad dying, and so it was like, oh, now you have to have a show about your dad dying, and it's still the thing of like, oh, it has to have an emotional
hook.
An emotional denouement.
Yeah,
there we go. That's the right word, isn't it? Isn't that the right word?
It's a good word, even if it's not the right one.
The end, the nearly the end, of the show.
That feels like a trend. That feels like something that at some point people are going to get annoyed with, bored of, and that will change to something entirely different. I think that currently there's a lot of political comedy, which also gets a bit tedious sometimes. Some people are absolutely brilliant at it, and I love it, and they're very clever.
But especially here, how many different ways is there to say Catholics, Protestants.
Catholics drive like this.
I know,
Protestants
well, to
drive
be
like
fair to
this.
Nathan Brothers, that is maybe the best one I've seen in a while. How many times?
Well, it's very local politics as well. I mean, like,
Yeah.
to a degree, people will always, like, from the outside, they'll go, oh, I know that those are related somehow. I know that there's a Catholic Protestant thing in Northern Ireland. But it's only really here that people will get the nuances of the jokes.
Oh, yeah. No, it's
And
very insular.
Yeah. I don't know if that's, like... look, whatever people want to do with their comedy, do. But if you want to succeed elsewhere, you can't have jokes, really.
It's very limiting.
Yeah.
It's very limiting. But
Like, they wouldn't even get half of it in Dublin.
And I don't do that much of it in my stuff. I don't think I do.
Yeah.
I've
done a bit of it, but only from the perspective of an outsider, because that's the only way I can do it.
Yeah. I don't do that much of it, but that's what an audience here normally wants.
Yeah.
Is
we're still laughing at it.
And that's what gets a big laugh.
Yeah.
It's
don't bring up your dead dad is the advice.
Yeah. And you can see people who have written really good jokes and they get a laugh.
Yeah.
But then they say, "Oh, I'm a Protestant, so I keep my fridge in the garage or whatever." and
Yeah. Oh, like, we don't even in the South. It's just we don't even think about it in those sort of terms. I mean, like, there is that sort of like, filthy Protestant sort of thing, but nobody means it or thinks about it beyond that. Like, it's kids, like David O'Doherty's story you were saying.
Yeah.
It's just kids going, fucking Protestants. Then you find out your friends are, and you're like, oh, right,
yeah.
Okay.
That brings me back all the way to the start to what I was going to tell you about the Ballysillan Road.
Yes!
So, we'll
that's a worrying place to walk with this accent.
But so the 11th night when the bonfires are up,
Yes.
a thing I like to do is go up Cave Hill.
Right.
Because from there you can see...
Oh, you would. You'd be able to see the whole lot.
You can see the bonfires as far as the Mourns, you can see...
Has anyone ever died building? Because those bonfires are like fucking 3 stories high. They're ridiculous.
People die every year.
Fuck.
There's a guy died this year. Did you not hear about it?
No.
Yeah, up in Larne. In the one where they built, the big, ridiculous, like, never mind 3 stories. This could have been 5. And
they're huge, like, they're fucking crazy.
Yeah. And he fell off, but people die every year from it,
Yeah.
Guy, I think a couple of years ago...
There's no building inspectors around.
And they fall on people. You live with violence here, even post troubles.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had a friend who was like, I picked her up to go up Cave Hill and she was pissed and she was directing me like, oh no, I know the way. I was like, this doesn't seem like the way up Cave Hill. She's like, no, I know the back way. She took me up to the Horseshoe Bend. I was like, I don't fucking want to go to the Horseshoe Bend.
Is that a particularly violent area?
No, but it has unfortunate connotations.
Right.
It's where bodies would have been left.
Okay.
People would have been left at the
You're
Horseshoe
afraid of being
Bend.
haunted, is what you're saying.
But people do go up there to look at the bonfires and stuff, but it's right at the top of Ballysillan there.
Yeah.
And so I was like, no, fuck this, we're getting out of here. Drove down, as we're coming down the Ballysillan road, the street was on fire. The whole road.
Had the bonfire collapsed and...
I think someone had just laid stuff out and set it all on fire, so there was just a barricade of fire across the road.
I love how there seems to be an amnesty for like the cops just go, and we're not going out for the next 3 nights.
Well, they can, yeah.
You just let them burn stuff. If you try and interfere, you'll make it worse.
What I really love is the prods up in North Down, who, they're middle class, but they still feel like they should, they're my people basically. Guilty prods who feel like they're not part of the tradition anymore.
Right.
So no, we should do the bonfire, but because they're North Down, they started doing ecologically friendly bonfires with willow bark because it's a fast growing tree and
okay, so
it doesn't give off that much CO2. It's like, lads, just pack it in.
Yeah.
Just pack
well,
it in.
like bonfires themselves are a very traditional thing. I mean, like we have bonfire night in the south, but it's a Halloween thing.
Do you do? Wait, do you don't?
And our
you don't-
bonfires are nothing compared to yours.
You don't do the 5th of November down south.
No, that we don't burn Catholics.
Yeah, it's like-
That would be very weird.
So you
No,
do-
it's in October. When there's bonfire, it's not sort of widely celebrated in the same way that the 5th of November would be, or the what is it, the 11th night or the 12th night?
The 11th night, yeah.
The 11th night here. But it is around Halloween. There's a night once a year where we just big bonfires in local communities, but they're little things. They're like, you know.
We used to do bonfires on Halloween as well.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's still a thing. It was. I mean, I think it might have just been me and my mates and.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
our parents did it.
traditionally, there's, which one is it? Is it Samhain?
Yeah, so
where they would have lit the fire on the top of the Hill of Tara. So all the fires in the country would go out, and then they'd relight the fire on the Hill of Tara, and then every hearth would be lit from that fire. Which is it's a beautiful thing, because it's sort of like each clan and each tribe is taking a little piece of this fire back with them to where they're from. And I think that's, or at least that's the modern interpretation of the tradition. I don't know how much history is actually in that, or whether it's just a bunch of druids that go up the hill once a year and talk shite.
Well, there was something about Patrick, wasn't there, with fire and stuff, and
What did he do with fire? I know he got rid of all the snakes and any evidence of aforementioned snakes.
I can't remember if he put out the fire or if he lit the fire, or I think I think it was, from the story I've heard, it's that on a certain night all the lights had to go out.
Right.
The druid said all the lights had to go out, and it might have been Halloween, but Sir Patrick lit a light.
They're
Lit a
mad
fire.
for stealing the traditions or the
Yeah,
Christians, aren't they?
Yeah.
He also
sounds
turned
like
the
a
children of Lear back into people as well.
Yeah. And then baptized them before
Did
they
he
died.
baptize them?
Yes,
Of course he
that's
did.
part of the story.
Of course he did, yeah.
Um,
Whoever was trapped in Tirnanog, he probably brought them back as well, and buried them under.
in
Christian grave.
in Oisin.
Was it Oisin?
He meets Oisin at the end. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's how that story.
They had a ton of Irish tales that just weren't wrapped up, and they were like, "Do you know what we need? We'll just get Patrick
But
in
I do like how that one ends. That Oisin drops from his horse and turns into an old man. So they take him to the wisest man known about,
Was that Patrick?
Patricus, and he explains to Patrick that he's Oisin of the Fenians, and he's been away in Tirnanog and he's come back and everything's changed. What's happened? And Patrick says the Fenians are dead. In fact, we're probably just myth.
Yeah, sure.
And
He was only gone for a year or something, was he? Like he.
Well,
or
no,
he
he was gone
wasn't.
for hundreds of years.
But from his perspective.
From his perspective, yeah.
He was away for 3 years, but it's 300 here or
Yes,
some.
And Patrick says that they may not even have existed. They were myth. Now the people of Ireland have come to see, and if they were pagans. Now the people of Ireland have come to see the true faith and tells them about Jesus Christ. And the two men talked long and became good friends, but neither one ever really believed the other.
Aww.
And I do like that ending of it.
I like that. That is a good ending, because there's an awful lot of not listening to people who disagree with you or have different opinions. Now, I do have some friends. I have friends who are creationists, and there are also creationists I fucking hate. Just because as individuals they're really fucking annoying about their creationism. But I do like having friends where I just go, I think that's mad. And they go, well, I think what you think is mad. And you go, grand. You have a nice cup of tea and you get on with your fucking life. Yeah, there's not enough of that now. I find if I say something that somebody disagrees with now, they fall silent. And you have no idea what they're thinking. And you've like...
Well, I think it's because people are so primed for...
Yeah. Like
with
argument, you think?
Yeah,
or?
with the internet, I think there's such a thing. Like, the way people disagree now on the internet is like...
Savage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As opposed to just if you disagreed in a pub. And...
Yeah.
You were able to say, fuck up. But like with a smile on your face or whatever, you know?
Yeah. Body language is important as well. You don't see that, and you don't hear the tone, and you don't, like, people seem to be primed to assume the worst possible interpretation of what people are
Yeah.
saying as well, which I think is really sad. There needs to be more interesting conversations, I think. I like disagreeing with people. I don't never do it intentionally. I always disagree when I disagree.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be one of those sort of people who likes to pick a fight, but I do think conflict is interesting, for sure. What do you think comedy has done positively in your life?
Oh, it's it's made me a lot more confident.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's taught me how to be funny. That I remember when I said I wanted to do comedy to a friend, I saw him make a face and then I jumped in and went, I know what you're gonna say, and I think you can teach yourself to be funny.
Was he gonna say that? That's mean.
Well, you know, I was a weird kid.
You
I
did
would
very
say
well.
to anyone to try stand,
Yeah.
give it a go,
Yeah.
because it's
Even getting over that abject terror of just talking in front of people.
Yeah.
I don't know.
like I always hate when like some big famous people would say like, oh, you know, can't you just be born talented and stuff, and I think everybody's funny.
Yeah.
Like comedy wouldn't work if that wasn't the case. If
Have
only
you ever met anyone who's just, there's absolutely no crack in them whatsoever?
Sure, but like, oh, sure, there are some people who are dry shites,
Yeah.
but the vast majority of people are funny. If they weren't, if only the people make a living or are funny professionally
Yeah.
were funny, then they wouldn't be able to do it professionally, because only the other people
Yeah.
who do it professionally would find them funny. What stand-up is about learning how to communicate your sense of humor, because it's that was the other thing. It's not like, maybe this is a better thing than saying it's democratic. It's direct.
Yeah.
It's not like a sketch. It's not like a piece of writing.
Yeah.
It is direct. You expressing your sense of humor
Yeah.
to somebody, like you can, and they're not your friend. That's the mistake a lot of people do, is they bring their, you know, for their first gig, their friends come along and their friends all laugh at the stuff.
Yeah.
Then the next gig they die
Yeah.
because their friends aren't there.
But I've noticed you can have a friendly audience that will give you that false sense of security as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I think what happens there is they think it's not that their friends are like being nice to them, it's that their friends get their sense of humor.
Yeah, yeah. Their
They-
mates think they're funny
I've
because that's
already-
what they laugh about.
Yeah, they've already
Yeah.
bought in. You have to learn how to communicate your sense of humor in the space of, you know, a minute's grace,
Yeah.
and then
I would say even a minute's quite a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
like ideally you should be communicating who you are and what you find, or
Yeah.
what you find funny with the first joke,
Yeah.
and then into and then people can
I
buy
go
into
for
it.
the likability. I tend to give it a few, like a breath or two beats of silence. So, because yeah, I don't think I'm that funny yet, but I have so much performance experience behind me now that walking on stage is kind of its own thing for me.
Mm.
I don't know if that's the best thing to do, because it means I'm kind of falling back on skills that aren't necessarily about being funny. I just come out and then I'm like, oh, it's okay, I've got them, now I'll start telling my jokes. Yeah.
Chess is a great example, because like there's such a jump between rankings. Like if you're someone who's, you know, an 1800 ranking,
Yeah. Do you play chess yourself?
yeah.
Yeah.
If you're someone who's an
Yes.
1800 ranking, you will not have fun playing someone who's a 1500 ranking, because you'll just always beat them. Like,
Right.
and easily,
Yeah.
and there'll just be no, and there's like if you play chess and you're playing someone who is even like, you know, 100 points below you,
Yeah.
there's very little fun in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you play someone who's like 300 points ahead of you, you know that you're hardly any challenge to them.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting.
I used to play, but I never got into rankings. I would DOS school, like secondary school, and go to a cafe and play chess with college students, which is like the most nerdy DOSing ever. But I
Well,
never
you-
got into.
You know that if you play someone who like doesn't play chess at all, you can't even really play with them because they don't.
Yeah.
No.
Well, you've learned a certain number of sets and a certain number of ways about it, and like I think if they don't play at all, Fool's Gambit wipes them out very quickly. 5 moves, is it?
Or 3 moves, something like that.
Yeah. And like all you do, you're just waiting for them to push that pawn, and then you're like, checkmate. All right, let's play a game. I never got into learning much beyond that. I learned, I was good at recovering, which is, quite similar to the rest of my life. Is that I make an absolute mess of everything and then I recover really well. That's my chess game. Everyone's like, oh, you're dead. Oh, fuck, how did you do that? I don't know. But I'm too, actually got my ADHD diagnosis the other day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
And I don't think I have enough working memory to be able to play that many moves in advance. That, although once I'm medicated, who knows?
Well, I don't play that many moves in advance. I'm more of an instinctual player.
Yeah. I always liked that about chess, that you could be.
Yeah.
You didn't have to learn all of these different, like some people, like proper nerds would. They just learn all
I learned the openings. You kind of have to learn the openings.
Yeah.
But after that, I like a more open opening that leaves, different routes of where you could go.
I have a rough idea. This is the same as stand-up. I have a rough idea where I'm going.
Yeah.
But it could go anywhere.
Yeah,
exactly. And then if the audience isn't reacting right, I'll stop going in that direction.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
I much prefer that kind of, I think that comes from the street performance as well. Like, I much prefer that kind of interaction with audiences. With chess games. It's just, it's the fun part for me.
Yeah, there's guys, I think a lot of stand-ups have, at least, starting out, like I certainly did, have a real fear of audience interaction.
Yeah.
Because if you're not someone who comes into it as someone who's, quick and witty, you think, oh, I don't know how to do that. But now I really love stand-up, really love audience interaction, because it can just go so many different ways, and it makes it a lot more fun.
I do have to be on form for it. I need a working brain that night if I'm going to do. Yeah, if I'm not feeling great, I'll just sort of run through the jokes and like pause where I need to pause. And
although that said, sometimes if I'm not in the mood for it, and audience interaction can pick me up.
Yeah, if you get the right audience, you get the right audience member. I do love someone who's willing to go along with it without making it a fucking chore.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think it endears you to everyone else as well if you've made this one connection.
Yeah.
And
as you were saying, stand-up crowds, they've come to laugh. So they tend to be easy enough. Where sometimes you do get a lot of people who are a bit reticent, to engage or anything at the start. That's why there's always people who don't want to sit in the front or anything. But
I'd never be mean to anyone in the audience. I don't think I can get away with it with my personality. I think I just come across as mean. Yeah, some people can get away with it. Some people are very good at being mean in a funny way.
Yeah.
But no, I'm quite gentle with them, I think.
Yeah.
I like to think that. Maybe I'm not. Maybe people go away going, Jesus, what happened? Just humiliated that poor bastard in the corner there. But no, it is good fun. And do you have anything coming up over the next while? You do the American regularly. Is that weekly or monthly?
It's fortnightly.
Fortnightly. The other option.
The other option. As opposed to yearly or...
biannually.
Centennially.
Yeah.
But the next one will be in 2100 and... But next one is this Saturday.
Oh, cool.
Then I don't have the dates booked for the autumn. I need to get on that.
When I was walking out there for
yes, you were on the last
Ian's,
one.
For Ian's thing, I felt like I was walking into an industrial estate, and I was sure I'm walking down beside a motorway, and there's what looks like an industrial estate to my right, and I'm like, I'm definitely going in the wrong direction. There it is, around the corner.
No, it's really sad because that's old Sailor Town.
Right.
That, like, where that industrial estate of the docks is now, that used to be sailor towns, that was always the docks, but, you know, it used to be a place where people lived, and now it's a lot of, after they put in the motorway, they knocked a lot of it down.
It's
It's
you
all
find the
waste
bypasses
ground.
kind of do that. Nobody
Yeah.
wants to be around. No one wants to be right beside a motorway.
Yeah.
It's just sort of
And they knocked down a lot of the older houses and put up, which were tenements, I think, to be fair, but I don't know how long McKenna's been there, that other pub, but
yeah.
the other historic pub from there, which you wouldn't see unless you went looking for it, it's way down past St. Joseph's Church.
Right.
It is the Rotterdam. It's closed down. That was like a famous music pub.
Oh.
Van Morrison did his first gig there.
Wow.
As far as I
Where's
understand.
Van Morrison from?
He's from Hindford Street.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
In the east.
You wouldn't hear the accent off him singing now.
Well, you would sometimes. Have you never heard one of his spoken word songs?
No.
He does some spoken word songs. There's a beautiful one called Coney Island, about going on a bird watching, a twitching trip to Coney Island, and
Is that what bird watching called? Twitching?
yeah, twitching, yeah.
Oh.
And or I think there's twitchers and then there's something else, but I'm not sure. Kind of like trekkies and trekkers, but I'm not
okay.
sure.
And they will forever be at odds with each other. Yeah.
But it's just about, you know, driving in the car down to Coney Island and past like Killyleagh and stuff, and describing the trip. Going to Ardglass for stopping in Ardglass for potted herrings in case we should get famished before dinner, and then there's a beautiful line where he says, "Hey, look at the side of your face."
State of your face.
I think you can hear it in certain parts, but he was quite mid-Atlantic.
I was very surprised to hear that Nick Cave was Australian.
yeah, that's true.
And then I said to my mate, he goes, "Of course he's Australian." And I went, "He doesn't come out on stage and go, 'G'day, mate.'" And he goes, "Yeah, he fucking does." "G'day, I'm Nick Cave." Shit, you're right. I do like Nick Cave. I like Van Morrison as well. To be honest.
I've seen him maybe 10 times.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm not much of a gig goer because I don't like crowds. I used to go to gigs, but I was on a lot of drugs. And I realised after, and this is probably like since the diagnosis the other day, I've been going through everything in my head to see what's a symptom of ADHD, and I was like, the most ADHD thing I think I've ever done is get bored of drugs. Like I lasted 2 years of just taking pills and speed and whatever the fuck I could get my hands on several times a week for 2 solid years, and then I just got bored with it and moved on.
I think you do just get bored of drugs eventually.
Yeah, you just go to the same parties, you hang out with the same people, you take the same drugs, and the same things happen.
I remember Jordan Robinson saying to me, he was so jealous of me because I just stopped smoking weed. I just stopped. At a certain point, I was like, I'm so jealous of you. I don't know how you just stopped. It was like, well, it was boring.
Yeah.
It just got boring. It wasn't fun anymore.
Yeah.
But now
There's a lot of people who can't stop anything. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. If it gets boring, if they have some kind of relationship with it, it might they might even fucking hate doing it, and they still do it. Whereas I don't think I have the brain chemistry to allow me to do that.
And what it now means, because I've stopped smoking weed, I can't ever smoke it again, because it's gotten so strong that it feels like it's just getting exponentially stronger, so that I've
in
tried
my
to
experience, Polish people sell weak weed.
Ooh, we're dropping the trans stuff.
Now
the
it's fucking Polish
stuff.
racism. It's only the weed I have a problem with. Sure, they're good Catholics otherwise.
Yeah, it's gotten so strong. I had a joint I don't know, months ago now.
Yeah.
I was just immediately like, I need to go to
Well,
bed.
I only smoke out of the pipe now because I don't smoke tobacco at all. I smoked when I was about 14 or 15 to when I was 25, and that was it. And now I'm 40.
I'm 40.
I'm fucking 40, yeah.
I did not think that.
What age did you think I was?
I was thinking 30s.
Oh, okay. That's not too bad. I was working on Into the Badlands 3, which is a TV show with Nick Frost, and I was
Yes.
working in the. Do you know that show?
I never saw it, but
Um,
I remember it being about.
I was working in the costume department, and I was. What age was I? I was 35 when I started on the show, and people were like, "Oh, you're 25 if a day," and I was like, "Oh, you guys." I worked there for a year, and at the end of it, they were like, "You're 30," and I was like, "I have aged 5 fucking years in one." So, granted, still younger than I was,
Yeah.
but TV definitely fucking aged me. Yeah, I think it's, I don't know, I think it's the neurodivergence. I think people look young when they're neurodivergent for some reason. I don't know.
Really?
It's supposed to be something to do with, like, you know how you have a lot of comorbidities if you have neurodivergence? Well, I don't know if you do. You might be one of the
Do
lucky
you?
fuckers.
I
Yeah.
didn't know if you had comorbidities. No one told me this.
Yeah, generally with joint issues. So I have a lot of joint pain. I have a lot of muscle pain and stuff.
I crack my fingers a lot. But
Does
that would
anything
be unrelated. That's not a comorbidity.
That is just cracking your fingers. Yeah, no, you can get, there's also like Ehlers-Danlos syndrome is one of those things which gives people super stretchy skin and stretchy ligaments, which can cause joint pain and things like that. So you can get a lot of different comorbidities. Depending, I was also born with club feet, so I think I have issues with tendons. That seems to be genetic. Like, there's people in my family who have issues as well. I have one cousin who can't bend her finger or can't straighten it, and then my grandfather had the same issue with his thumb, and I was born with mutant bird feet. So clearly they got the better fucking deal. But yeah, that's one of them, is stretchy skin. So that might have something to do with why a lot of autistic people look younger.
Would that not lead to wrinkle more or less?
Yeah, it kind of sounds like it does, doesn't it? And
Yeah.
yet, for some reason, because a lot of autistic people I know do look...
Yeah, I'm pulling my skin down.
Does it look straight? Mine is not.
It just feels as stretchy as it ever did, but I'm not, I don't have a
You'd have
non-autistic
to-
person to compare it with.
Yeah, you'd have to find somebody else
Yeah.
and stretch their skin, and that'd be weird.
Yeah.
That's one of the things they tell us not to do, isn't it? Stop touching people inappropriately. I'm just stretching their skin. Yeah. So, to finish up, what would you say... I was going to say, what would you say is the most important thing about performance? But I suppose a better question is, why is it performing? Or specifically commenting.
To express yourself.
To express yourself.
Do you know what? I couldn't say other
Yeah.
than I saw it and I wanted to do it. I
Yeah.
knew it was like the thing I wanted to do. When did you get diagnosed, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, 4 years ago with autism, and like
Oh, right.
2 days ago with ADHD.
So I got diagnosed at 7.
Okay.
Which is very common for men
Yeah.
to get diagnosed
Yeah.
earlier on.
Did you have a lot of treatment with that then? Did you have like therapies involving socialization or anything like that?
No.
No.
Because
Okay.
I was Asperger's.
Right.
The diagnosis was back then.
So high functioning.
Yeah.
In inverted commas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't have that, but I did have like regular
Yeah.
counseling and stuff, and therapy or whatever, psychologist. When it got around to careers,
Yeah.
I remember a careers class like 14 or something. They said to me, you know, autistic people tend to have like a thing that they focus on, and so that could be what you go into make your career.
And you were 7 at this time, were you?
No, well, like 14.
14,
they say,
okay,
you
so-
know, like in careers class, they say, you know, what would you like to do when you grow up?
And what at 14? What was your?
Well, that's the thing. They say, you know, so you maybe have like math. You're good at maths. Maybe that's the thing.
What if I
that-
wanted to be basketball? What if
Yeah.
I wanted to be a basketball
Yeah.
savant?
Or maybe you'll go into science or something, or you love
Astronaut.
history. Maybe you'll be a historian. And I thought about it, and I was thinking, yeah, I'm good at maths, but I hate it.
Yeah.
I'm just like good at it. I like history, but I can't see being like a historian or something. And I was still thinking about this when I was home, and then I realized I was doing the same thing I did every day
Yeah.
when I got home from school. I was watching Billy Connolly.
Such a comedian. What a guy.
I was like, oh, well, maybe this will be the thing then.
Yeah.
Because this seems to be the thing that I spend all my time watching is stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
And
So at 14 you knew?
yeah. And I didn't start until I was 18, but I knew
Yeah.
I knew from 14 that...
But what, like as a 14-year-old, what access would you have had either, I suppose? Because it's very much a pub and nightclub thing, isn't it? Yeah.
I mean, I've seen guys start who were in school.
Yeah.
But...
Were they deviants?
It was William Thompson, so yes.
I heard he killed a man.
To be fair, I don't think he did start when he was in school. He just looked like a schoolboy. But you know, yeah, I thought, right, so this'll be what I devote my life to. And here we are 11 years later, and my career is civil servants.
It's bloody hard. Is it something you'd want to do as like, if you could be a comedian and earn your full-time wages?
I would love to make money from... I would love to make money from it, but enough money to... live off it.
It's really hard. I think with music it's easier to do that because there's so much music going on all the time that you can be, if you're good enough, you can be a gigging musician. But with stand-up, I can't see how it would make money unless you've made it.
Well, there is a circuit of gigging comedians who names you wouldn't know, but who come out and gig every year and they make enough to survive off it. It's a very hard life.
Yeah. And would they wouldn't have families or sort of dependents?
No, I think they have families.
Okay.
But,
it's tough.
And some of them make a fair bit of money from it, but still might not know their name necessarily.
Oh, well, for me, that isn't a measure of success.
Yes.
But
I mean, they wouldn't be household names, but...
Yeah.
And, but the problem with it is, I think nowadays you really have to be on social media. And I'm just not on social media. Yeah,
it's a healthy way to be, I think. It's a fucking dumpster fire. I think with social media, is if you're just posting stuff up and you're just putting, advertising yourself, but you're not engaging with the weird politics stuff that goes on,
I need
that's
to learn
the
how
only way
to do that.
Yeah.
But I also just, I don't understand it quite, and I don't, so I don't engage with it, but maybe one day I'll have a social media presence, but at the moment have people to brag a little bit. I've had people ask me, where can I follow you? And I'm
nowhere. Wow.
Look out for me being on a bill. I have a Facebook, but
that's your personal account as opposed to a page. Yeah. Well, the thing about social media, you kind of have to have stuff to post up or they're not following anything.
Yeah. It just makes it more I'd rather just go and do the gig rather than post about it all the time and stuff.
Yeah.
Which makes me a very bad act to book then because I'm not promoting the gig.
I don't know, does anyone look at your page when because I've messaged a few people and I can imagine if you're a booker you probably have people sending you stuff all the time via social media and you're not going to want to, I wonder if this one's funny. It seems to me that people get gigs by turning up to other gigs and introducing themselves.
Well, that's the best way to get gigs is to show up, introduce yourself, and ask for a spot.
I hate that because it involves A, leaving my house, and B, talking to people. I don't mind talking to people, I just don't like being in noisy rooms and having to talk to a lot of people in one night, I truly am very autistic. There's ones I think I want to go along to because they sound like fun. The variety ones that you're mentioning, Turnstile sounds like fun, and I've got to go along to each one, but it has to be on a week when I'm not doing anything, so I actually have the energy to go and talk to people, and so I can't see myself going very far in comedy because that's literally what's going to hold me back. Is just my complete and utter lack of interest at selling myself as a person.
It feels like you have to sell yourself.
Yeah.
And I don't like doing that.
No, it's not. It feels very fake because I would like to have a genuine interaction with every human I meet.
Well, it feels like a job application now.
Yeah. And then you have to be nice to some people and not nice, or not that you don't have to be not nice to other people, but there is this sort of weird social hierarchy that comes
Well, it was
with.
always the thing that you had to be nice to the booker and you had to
Yeah.
try and, be their friend.
I'd like to be as nice to them as I am to everyone else.
I mean, why do you think I'm friends with Luke McGibbon? That boring fuck.
I've heard he's an awful bastard, that Luke McGibbon.
that little cute face bastard.
Do you know what I'd love to see if he ever became a DJ and called himself MC Gibbon? I think he's going to have to pay me for royalties on that one. Yeah.
I think George has stopped doing it, but he used to always introduce Luke on stage by saying, the man with the name of a Scottish man introducing his monkey, Luke McGibbon.
Oh, I was watching videos recently of chimps gone wrong. I mean, the chimps haven't gone wrong, but the relationships with their humans had. Why people get chimps is fucking beyond me. Don't fuck with apes, just don't do it.
Yeah, it's a monster.
Yeah, they're like literally a horror movie walking.
It's a monster.
by,
Although to
like.
bring it back to the Olympics, I would watch that. I would watch Chimp Olympics.
Chimp Olympics would.
Let's see
Chimp
Let's see
Olympics.
Michael Phelps up against a chimp.
Oh my
Let's see
God.
Floyd Mayweather against a chimp. Let's see how
The
that
chimp
goes.
would win. Oh, but Floyd would put up a
Female
good
chimp,
fight.
though? Female chimp?
Oh, is there a big difference? Oh, that's interesting.
I
I
don't
imagine
know.
female
I don't
chimps beat the shit out of each other as well, though. Yeah, chimps are horrifying. I remember watching something on a zookeeper was talking about how there's this sort of gate thing that lifts up and their food bowls were in there.
Yeah.
And she went to like put her hand in to get the food bowls and another zookeeper was like, don't do that.
Yeah.
Look in first. And she looked in and one of the chimps was like waiting beside the door and he would have ripped her arms off for fun because that's what they fucking do. And people are like, oh, let's get one of them as a baby. It will rip your face off, Sharon. Don't do
Yeah,
it.
Nim Chimpsky.
Nim Chimpsky, yeah, that was
Rip the
fucking.
face off.
Yeah, and didn't he? Nim was a boy, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't he grab? She went to see him years later in a cage, and she was like, "Oh no, he's gonna remember me. It's gonna be beautiful." Or maybe that was Coco the gorilla. I'm not
It was
sure.
Coco. But gorillas are chill.
And well, no, I think it was one. It was either Nim or Coco. Somebody that picked her up, recognized her, came forward, picked her up by the leg, and just fucking smashed her around the place like a rag doll.
Oh, that sounds like a chimp.
That's chimp behavior. She didn't die, so you know he didn't want to kill her.
Yeah.
Because if he wanted to
He was
kill her, he
playing.
just popped her head off. He just
Yeah.
wanted to teach her a lesson.
No,
Chimps
Coco
are
was chill.
terrifying.
Gorillas are chill.
I think orangutans are supposed to be the chillest.
Yeah.
You really need to piss off an orangutan to
Yeah.
make it violent towards you. Still, not fucking with apes. I don't think it's a clever idea. Leave them alone. They're
Well,
bigger
we're
and
apes.
stronger than us. Yeah, don't fuck with people. Fucking people. Yeah. I do. I like having conversations, but I don't like all the socializing. I keep doing inverted commas when nobody can see me.
Yeah. That's like that thing I do where it's the moment when I feel the most stupid. When I'm on the phone to someone, I'll wave bye-bye. And I'll wave bye-bye to the phone. Bye-bye. It's the moment I feel most autistic. Bye-bye.
You can see me. Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else you want to? Is there anything you'd like to plug or anything like that before we?
The American comedy.
The American comedy.
We're on at the weekends.
Millennially. Bicentennially.
It's either a Friday or Saturday or sometimes a Sunday.
Is there a Facebook page you're gonna sing?
There
or what?
is a
There
Facebook
is.
page and there is even an Instagram page because Donnie Kingston set one up for me.
Oh, what a legend! What a
and
legend!
he runs it.
Brilliant.
But, yeah.
Yeah, Donnie's lovely. Donnie's a real sweetheart.
But yeah, no, thanks for having us on.
Hey, no worries. It's been a great conversation. I really enjoyed that.
Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed that. If you would like to support the podcast for as little as the price of a coffee a month, you can go to Patreon and help us out so we can, so I can get guests to come to my nice little pod and we can cast. I'd like to be able to pay for travel expenses for people. Or travel to wherever they are if they can't get away. I have a list in my head of some incredibly interesting people that I would like to talk to with all sorts of different backgrounds in the performance scene, from Shakespeare, theatre, circus, clowning, stuntmen, you name it. I have friends who do it. And I would like to talk to each and every one of them, including a whole bunch of incredibly interesting people in London. So yeah, if you would like to support this podcast and hear more interesting conversations from more interesting people, when I say more interesting, I mean more interesting people, not how that first might have come across. If you would like to, go to patreon.com/renegade context and buy us a coffee. Go on. It's not that much.